Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I don't very often come to the well and speak on issues. I do most of my work from my desk in voting yes or no or asking questions. I don't often come to the well because I think this is a very honored position to be here. Because when I come to the well, I'm speaking on one of three things. In 2005, in January, I sat where Representative Willard is sitting today in my temporary seat, and I took an oath of office. And in my oath of office, I swore to uphold two things: the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of Georgia. And I also took an affirmation, as is dictated by our type of government, to be the voice of the people. When I come to this well, I am either speaking or defending on the Constitution of our country, our state, or of the people. Our Constitution is clear that the power is vested in the people, and part of that power is loaned to us to represent those people in this representative republic that we have. Our founding fathers affirmed this in the very document that they put their lives on the line to sign, the Declaration of Independence. And I'd like to read just a portion of that here this afternoon. Those 56 men signed this document, literally signing their lives away, putting their lives at risk for these ideals. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. I could be prepared to talk about several issues and feelings that I had last night when I watched the Congress of the United States turn its back, literally turn its back on the will of the people of the United States. I could talk about the 10th Amendment and the powers that are given to the states that are not enumerated, as other speakers have spoken about. I could talk about the Constitution as it was brought up, where it says that we'll promote the general welfare, but it does not say that we will provide for the general welfare. We could talk about the constitutionality of what happened in Congress last night, or I could talk about the growing power of the federal government. But what I want to talk to you about here today should be something that every one of you here should be willing to cast a vote in favor of this bill. 49 of the 50 states, citizens in 49 of the 50 states were opposed to this legislation that passed last night. These representatives in Congress have the same responsibilities that you and I have here to uphold the Constitution, but also to be the voice of the people which they represent. But many of them turned their back on the will of the people that they represented. This constitutional amendment right here will give the people of Georgia the ability to speak and let their voice be heard, because the question will be put on a ballot that the people of Georgia can voice whether or not they want to participate in this federally mandated health care system. Why are the people opposed to what happened in Congress? Why is the people of 49 of 50 states opposed to what happened yesterday? These statistics were just posted in the Rasmussen polls, which is the most reliable polling agency that regularly polls on national matters and states matters. 54% of the people of the United States believe that the quality of health care will go down. 54%. 57% believe that the cost of health care will actually increase because of this legislation. 81% of the American people believe that the cost of this bill will exceed the cost that it was projected to cost the American taxpayers. 81%. 57% believe passage will hurt the U.S. economy. I want to repeat that. We're in the worst economy since the 1930s. 57% of the people believe this will hurt the U.S. economy. A news report in Fox News recently reported that many of the CEOs, the largest employers in our nation, have held back from expanding their businesses and helping grow the economy because of the threat of the costs they will incur because of this bill that was passed in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. last night. 51% of the American people fear the federal government when it comes to making decisions on health care for their personal lives and their family. However, there is a number that is low in the polling. Only 20% of the people of the United States believe that members of Congress understood what they were actually voting on. 20% believe that they took the time to read the legislation that they passed last night. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our responsibility to be the voice of the people. Congress of the United States turned their back on the voice of the American people last night. This is our opportunity to give the people of the state of Georgia the knowledge and the understanding that their voice was heard by this legislative body here today. I encourage you to join me in making a strong stand for the people of the state of this Georgia, whom we are elected to support and be the voice for. Mr. Speaker, I'll be glad to take any questions.
Well, you have a couple. Chair recognizes Representative Williams of the 89th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the gentleman in the well, would you yield, please?
I would gladly yield to my friend.
Maybe some of the members in here did not bring a brown book today. Maybe this is Brown Book Day. Would you be so kind to read to us the Amendment 15?
I would assume that you don't have a copy of the Constitution while you're asking me to read this.
That's an assumption. No, I have one.
Well, would you like to read it? Or you
No,
me to read it?
I would like for you to read it. You did such a great job with Amendment 10, so I would listen at you for Amendment 15.
The right of the citizen of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by the state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. The Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Is that the article that you're referring to?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Glad to answer your question.
You did.
Chair recognizes Chairman Reinders for a question to your right.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
Gladly yield, sir.
Do you have an opinion on the legislation that was passed last night? What effect it may have on small businesses all across this state as we're trying to go through and make our way through this economic situation that we're in?
Well, I can give you my opinion based on being a small business owner who for the last 2 years has operated either in a loss or on the borderline of a loss simply to keep my people employed. One of the reasons I've kept people employed is because one of my employees has had, his wife has been critically ill with cancer. Unfortunately, she passed away earlier this year. But if the cost to my business was to go up even the smallest amount, I do not know that my business would be able to survive under this current economy.
Thank you. Does the gentleman further yield?
I do.
Is it not true that we're in a very, very dangerous position, that the hundreds of millions of dollars that will be placed on the state of Georgia will cause potentially even further cuts to public safety, education, and health care if we don't take action as the state on the legislation that was passed last night?
That is absolutely true, and I use the old analogy that you cannot fill a desert without draining an ocean. There is limited funds out there, and with the passage of this bill, if we do not take action, I believe that we are going to have a much more difficult time balancing a budget as we're required to than we are in this year.
And finally, does the gentleman yield one more time?
I do.
Is it not true that not voting in favor of House Resolution 1086 would be denying the people of Georgia the right to vote on how they want to choose their health care?
I firmly confer with that.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Cowan of the 173rd for a question.
Well, gentlemen, yield.
I do.
Is it not true that this resolution is just about letting the people be heard?
That was the whole context of my statements. It is.
And isn't it also true that that's what we've been hearing across Georgia, feeling that nobody's listening to us in Washington this time about health care?
That is true.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the question. I know that there's other people wanting to speak on this bill, so I will yield the well and allow others to come up and speak. But I do encourage my members and my colleagues in here to stand up for the people of Georgia, the people that you represent, the people that sent you here to be their voice. The overwhelming majority of the people of Georgia are opposed to what happened in Congress yesterday. It is your responsibility to be their voice because Congress is not listening. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield the well.
Chair